shallow right. This may drop, and it does. The bases will be loaded. A base hit for Ludwig. Where was Greene?
Well, Greene is not running well at all. He's had leg injuries, and that's really a ball that should have been an out. This club has the second most errors in the American League, and then there's plays like this that are not being made that really is hurting the pitching staff. But that is got to be an out at this level, and the Royals do not execute.
They should have 2 outs at this point. The play at third, and now that blue base hit into right. Here's Duncan, who's with his dad here on Father's Day. Must be a lot of fun, and what a neat experience to do that here in the major leagues. Always going to his dad for advice. His dad, of course, the pitching coach, but helps out Chris an awful lot with the hitting side of things. A swing and a miss on a fastball. Duncan is hitting .250. Struck out a couple of times yesterday. He's got 5 home runs and 30 RBIs. He owns 2 grand slams in his career, most recently in interleague play against Oakland.
Chris 1 for 8 in this series, but the team really responds when he has an RBI. 16-5 and 26-6 in games when he homers.
0-1 pitch. Duncan, left center. Meyer is back to the wall. He leaps and makes a tremendous catch. A run will score to make it 2-0, but what an outstanding play by Meyer in center field.
Well, the fans really appreciate that effort from the young outfielder as he scales the wall, times it perfectly, and catches it. It would not have been a home run, but he saves this from being an extra base hit and a couple more runs scoring for the Cardinals. Nice catch right there. Pulls onto the ball when he comes home. You know, Albert, good base running as he was at the second base bag all the way. Knew that that ball was either going to be a home run or be caught. Even if it goes off the wall, he could score from second base.
So the RBI number 31. Not tagging on that play was Ludwig over at first base, so he's still there, and Pujols over at third. Here's Yadier Molina. And Mesh is a double play away from getting out of this inning.
Well, that's it. That's how you have to think if you're a Kansas City Royal, that, okay, you know, they've got 2 runs, but it could have been a lot worse. And with a little help defensively, could have a shutout still intact. But right now, he needs the ground ball.
Would you think about a squeeze here with Molina?
I would not, because I want to protect Albert.
Yeah, standing at third. That's what I was thinking, too. You worry about this, though. The double play. 6-4-3 double play. Mitch Meyer, outstanding play in center field, takes the extra base hit away, and after a half inning, it's 2-0. Back in Kansas City after a half inning of play, it's 2-0 here on Father's Day. Happy Father's Day to everyone. And let's take a look at Kansas City's lineup. David DeJesus, Willie Blomqvist, and Billy Butler here in the first. The former Marlin, Mike Jacobs, Jose Guillen, Mark Tien, Miguel Olivo, Tug Hewlett, and Mitch Meyer made that great play out in center field. He'll bat ninth. And they'll face Adam Wainwright. He's our Marshall Wireless starter for the Cardinals.
Well, Adam has won his last 2 starts. He leads the club with his 7 victories. Also leads in strikeouts. He's really cut down on his walks and pitching very effectively now.
In his last start, we saw more fastballs as opposed to the cutter, and his velocity was up.
Yeah, I think that's what happened early in the season. He really, for whatever reason, lost a little confidence in throwing that fastball. Really, when he reached back, he didn't have it, but he just didn't have his normal command. And now, you know, Dave Duncan said the last few starts, and his ERA in his last 7 starts is under 250. But he really expects him to take off and be the real pitcher that we believe he is.
Here's a 1-1 pitch. He works from the first base side of the rubber as well. Inside to DeJesus, who hits from the left side, and he leads their team in triples and also in the American League. He's got 6 of those. They've hit a bunch of triples, but not many home runs.
Yeah, 26 triples as a team.
The 2-1 pitch. Slapped the other way. Nice piece of hitting for a leadoff base hit. Let's take a look at the Cardinals defense with Rick Ankiel in left field, Rasmus in center, Ludwig in right. Khalil, Greene, and Tyler Greene on the left side of the infield. Schumacher and Duncan on the right side. Adam Wainwright and Yadier Molina, the battery this afternoon.
See, first batter off of Wainwright. De Jesus gets only his second hit in the series. Always seems like a pretty good player to me, and his numbers don't reflect it. But then I saw a .330 average in interleague play.
There you go.
I guess I get swayed a little bit better about his ability than what the American League sees.
You see the best of him. Interleague play, no doubt. De Jesus with good speed over at first base. They are third from the bottom, the Kansas City Royals, and average at .252. Second fewest in home runs in the American League with only 58. Willie Bloomquist, the former Seattle Mariner. A fly ball slicing down the right field line and into the seats. Bloomquist was mostly a utility player when he was with the Mariners.
Yeah, and I think that was the design, that he was supposed to be a super sub with the Royals, but out of necessity, some of their young shortstops just can't hit. That Bloomquist is getting so much more playing time.
That logo and the Father's Day pin being worn now by Adam Wainwright. Of course, we were wearing them as well. You see a number of the players with blue wristbands. And a check on the runner at first, De Jesus. Father's Day, very special for everyone around the country, no doubt. But here at the ballpark, certainly for the Duncan family, Dave in uniform with the Cardinals with his son.
Well, don't slight yourself. Happy Father's Day to you.
Only 4 of them now, Al.
I know.
And you, happy Father's Day.
Dan is, you know, he's.
Be nice.
No, I'm just trying to phrase this, but I'm very, very proud of your 4 kids under 3.5.
Yeah.
And I still keep trying to figure out what you're doing to Libby.
Here's a line drive into center field. Rasmus comes up with a great catch in center.
Good closing speed there as he comes up with that ball. And you love to see a guy have that, you know, that confidence that I can dive for a ball, knowing in this big ballpark, if it gets by me, we see another one of those triples. But that's a good catch there, and because of the speed and good jump, it makes it look relatively easy.
We noticed in game 1 how the ball was flying out of the ballpark, in particular for the Cardinals, and in closing the park, the power numbers are way up. They're expected to have record numbers in home runs this year, despite the fact that their team doesn't hit many of them. But it does give you an indication of just the difference now. The wind currents are different with this now being enclosed.
Yeah, isn't it interesting? Because you and I, that was our topic of conversation driving back, you know, after the game Friday night, is that, man, I don't remember seeing the ball fly. Is what we had 6 home runs in that first game.
I mean, even the ball that Duncan just hit moments ago and that great catch out in center, that carried pretty well.
Khalil Greene's home run in the left field corner. I mean, he just really was out in front on his front foot and just flicked the bat.
And you're talking about the one yesterday.
Yesterday that Khalil hit, but I sure was happy to see it, as it really padded that lead and secured that Cardinal victory.
He just seems more relaxed. We've been around him in the clubhouse and down in the dugout. Much more relaxed.
Good numbers for Butler with, you know, when runners are on, and even better when they get in scoring position.
1-2. I think it's interesting. You know, you look at why Wainwright wins. On the road, he's got an ERA that's over 4. An opponent's hit .297 against him, but he's 4-1. A reason why, with runners on, they're only hitting .223 against him. Runners in scoring position, .210. There's a fly ball into left center. Rasmus on the move to the track, and it's off the wall. De Jesus will be stopped at third base. So second and third, and only 1 out.
Hanging breaking ball there, and they get hit hard. It's kind of a little lazy, and Pop leaves it on the inner part of the plate, and out in left center. It looked like Rasmus must have been playing him around the other way, but that ball didn't have that crisp sound to it either.
Brings in Mike Jacobs, their designated hitter last year with Florida, 32 home runs, as he had 93 RBIs. He was part of the deal that brought him over from the Marlins for Leo Nunez, and we saw him in the most recent road trip. Hard-throwing right-hander out of their pen.
And he's had some history and success against Wainwright. Only 7 at-bats, but 3 hits, including a home run. Again, we kind of see these starting pitchers kind of have trouble in the first inning. And Wainwright right now could use that pop-up in the infield or the strikeout.
You know, he'd love to atone for a key at-bat, which he couldn't come through in yesterday with the bases loaded and trailing 3-1 in the 8th inning.
Had a good at-bat, but ended up flying out to center field. And 3-1 at that time with runners in scoring position. Well, bases loaded, right?
Bases loaded. 1 ball, 1 strike. Curveball, much sharper there.
Yeah, that's a good one. Jacobs doesn't like it, but that's Wainwright at his finest. 12-6 curveball. Starts out, you know, at the belt and then breaks down below the knees, but it crosses the plate in the strike zone.
The Royals have lost 4 straight. They've been outscored 41-16 in those games. And a called third strike. Tailed back in at 95 on our gun. We haven't seen him hit that in a while.
That's going back to closer's day. Jacobs doesn't like it, but that's just a protest trying to placate to his fans, because that was a good pitch by Adam. Wanted it up a little bit. That tailing action, look at how effective. Molina was up in his haunches a little bit, wanted it up in the strike zone, and then that ball just tailed right back.
You see this season the wins by the starting pitchers first in wins, ERA, and you see the innings per start second best. It is such an effect on your bullpen too, going deeper into games, fresher arms.
Sure, and Wainwright's been averaging that 6 innings. Even with some of those poor outings earlier, he's been really kind of a model of consistency, going deeper into ball games, and it hasn't hurt that he's leading the National League in run support.
Go back to 2 years ago where the Cardinals starters, it was a who's who at times who was going to make that start. They did not go deeper into games, and by the end of the year the bullpen was just fried, and it cost them wins and it cost them possibly postseason play.
No doubt about it. You know, it's you know, you get into a situation where, you know, Dave Duncan will tell you, you know, hey, it's great, maybe you're picking up wins early in the season, but if your starters are not going deep, you go to the bullpen too often, they're pitching too many innings, it'll take its toll down the road.
And really that was a concern, it seemed like, coming out of spring training for the Cardinals. The starters weren't going deep.
They couldn't. I mean, whatever it was, nobody was getting through like the 5th inning. You know, Wainwright couldn't get through the 5th inning or through the 6th inning in any of his starts in spring training, so you kind of worried about it, but now he's back.
Good pitch.
That's a good cutter now. I thought some of the pitches, the first 2 pitches, I thought were fastballs in the inner part of the plate, exactly where he wanted them. But they set up those pitches to get a guy swinging out of the strike zone like Guillen there, because he had pitches inside, get your attention, and you're not going to dive across the plate to try and get that one.
So he's got him now 2-2 with 2 runners on. 2-0 lead here in the first. Lined into right field. And a base hit as it gets down. 1 run is in. They'll miss the cut. Guillen advances to second base, but no, he's safe. This game is tied up at 2-2 and a big hit with 2 outs.
Hanging pitch right there. I mean, tried to go back with that good cutter, but it stayed up, elevated, got a little bit too much to the plate. Easy pitch to take to right field. Now, watch there, it's a breaking ball. It's out of the strike zone, but it's up. Difference of the one they swung at previously was it was down.
I really thought Ludwig was going to go after that too and maybe try to attempt the diving catch.
Yeah, I think he kind of laid back a little bit. It was hit hard, carried maybe a little further than what he thought, and when he did that, then he messed up his throwing because he had no momentum going forward. He was back on his heels.
Here's Martin, their third baseman. Remember, Alex Gordon, of course, is out. Their young star at third base, so Tien playing over there, and he's hitting .280, 8 home runs, 23 RBIs. Greene is the runner at second base. There's a base hit into right. He's not running well. We should have a play at the plate. Throw by Ludwig. Not in time. 3-2 Kansas City. That's 4 base hits against Wainwright here in the first.
And that's just kind of I think he will settle down, but the problem is Mesh probably will too. Tien gets a base hit out here. This is a second poor throw by Ludwig, and it's very atypical for him to make 4 throws. Pretty good throwing arm, a little bit up the line for the second time, and as you said, Greene not running well. A little better than he was a couple weeks ago, but still not at his peak.
And with Guillen's base hit when he missed the cut, allowed him to go to second base and in scoring position.
Yeah, and that was the first bad throw by Ludwig up the line. Molina almost made it a miraculous play and get him out at second. But
if the throw is on line and that play at the plate, he's probably out. Very close.
I think he's out, and if the throw was good, and if they didn't get the runners coming home, Molina definitely would have had Guillen going to second.
So all this done with 2 outs as Wainwright was a strike away from sending us to the second with a 2-0 lead. Instead, now it's 3-2 Kansas City.
Knowing Adam Wainwright and his ability and his competitive spirit, he's going to get out of this inning, and he's going to kind of chastise himself. Hey, my teammates got me the lead, and then I gave it right back, but he'll be okay.
0-1 pitch. Popped fouling out of play. 0-2. The Cardinals have assured themselves of a series win here. They've won 3 of the past 4 series they played in, and it's also their 7th series win in the last 8 years here in Kansas City at Kauffman Stadium.
They aren't even thinking that. They're thinking about staying in first place. The only way to guarantee that is to win.
0-2 is the count. Saw a Levo homer the other night in game 1 as the game was for the most part out of reach.
Had a lot of strikeouts, but this guy, you make a mistake, he can hurt you.
Wainwright is set, and here comes an 0-2 pitch. A strikeout is second in the inning. But 4 base hits for the Kansas City Royals, and they have an early lead. It's 3-2 after 1. Interleague play continues here in Kansas City. It's 3-2. You see some of the water from the fountains out there in center on our cameras. That's why we have that little foggy look at times on replays. And this season, it has been, again, a success with St. Louis and Kansas City as far as the fans. And it's been 5 sold-out crowds, 3 at home, 2 prior to this game, and we believe that this game is sold out as well. So for the fans, and at least in this case, between these 2 franchises, it has worked out.
A smaller stadium here. It doesn't hold as much as Busch Stadium does, so they are sellouts.
It's always a popular weekend for the folks in St. Louis. Come down I-70 and make their way west to Kansas City. The 0-1 pitch. In the dirt to Ricky and Keel, who homered on Friday night. He's got 5 on the season, hitting .244, 18 RBIs. He's in left field today, followed by Khalil Greene and then Tyler Greene. 7, 8, and 9. Popped up into left field. De Jesus with the catch. Fathers and sons enjoying baseball, and a happy Father's Day. Glad you're with us. We were out in the Bud Light party deck ball game yesterday afternoon with many of our fine advertisers on Fox Sports Midwest. They have done a remarkable job here at Kauffman Stadium with renovated concourses and restrooms, seating, the way they've enclosed the place. This was actually the last park in the major leagues without full access in the outfield for fans. So this is finally enclosed, just like every other park in the big leagues.
And a lot of entertainment out in the outfield for the kids, and interactive areas. Of course, they'll open up their Royals Hall of Fame on July 17th. Mark, this was a beautiful stadium when it first opened, and I think now they've just enhanced it even more so for the fans and making it fan friendly.
Khalil Greene out to left field. Did he do it again? Will it stay fair? His third home run in as many games for Khalil Greene. How about that?
Now, you're going to watch this swing. This is a self-defense swing, too.
Good for Khalil Greene. With that home run hit by Khalil, another $18,000 has been raised to support prostate cancer research. To make a donation, you can call 800-798-CURE or go online to prostatecancerfoundation.org. Khalil Greene with his 5th home run.
Gilmesh does not give up home runs. Look at this swing. He tries to pull the hands in because the ball's running in on him and just hooks it down there in the corner. Now, it went about 10-15 rows deep, but that's only the 3rd home run that Mesh has allowed this year. He is very good at keeping the ball in the ballpark, but Khalil has had quite a series and a return from the DL.
He's now tied with Ankiel in home runs and 1 RBI in front of him with 19.
As many as RBIs now as Schumacher.
So the home run and a tie ball game, 3-3. And here is Tyler Greene, who's at shortstop again today, as Brendan Ryan has been dealing with cramping issues back home in St. Louis and again in this series.
You know, Dan, that just gives you an idea that you've got to be careful when you pitch inside, and that's why it's always my philosophy. You don't pitch inside trying to throw strikes.
A fly ball into right. Guillen is there for the 2nd out.
You throw the ball inside to get somebody out away, but you be very careful pitching inside unless you're up and in. But inside, off the plate, keep the guy, you know, consistent there, and then watch him, you know, keep him away.
3 consecutive games last time for him to do that. 0-4 against Colorado.
And remember, in 07, you know, he had 27 home runs and 90+ RBIs. Not saying that's the kind of year he's going to have, but this weekend he's showing you that that could be a possibility.
Story that I mentioned the other day is worth repeating, especially on Father's Day, where Skip Schumacher, who's at the plate now, gave his World Series ring to his dad. He said, "Dad, you deserve this as much as I do." His father is Wayne Schumacher. He will retire in 19 months, director of sanitation for the LA County beaches. And when Skip was being moved to second base, the first guy to hit him ground balls this offseason, his dad.
His dad was so instrumental in every aspect of him being here, and you know, having a chance to go to college and everything. And that's another reminder for these kids that play sports to get that college education. After you get your education, if you're good enough to play professionally, by all means do so.
And Wayne actually drives 2 hours a day in his job, and he did it for Skip to move him to better schools for his books and scholastics, but also it was better competition baseball wise, and he said, "I would do anything I could for my son." He was a gifted athlete growing up, and we wanted to make sure he had the best opportunity to play against the best competition and also get a good education. That's a foul tip. And that one caught Olivo. You could hear him scream up here.
Well, when you have shin guards, but they have folds in them, and you know, they kind of overlap, but there'll be times when a ball will be fouled off and it will actually get in between, you know, those shin guards and find one of those folds and get right off the kneecap. And I'm sure that's what happened there.
Skip was saying his dad, you know, didn't put the ring in a safe. He said it's on his finger every day. And so he's asked about it, Wayne Schumacher, about that ring. And
then he gets embarrassed having to talk about his son.
Oh yeah, I'm sure he gets real embarrassed talking about Skip every day. 0-2 pitch. 1-2.
You know, not only can he brag about his son being a baseball player and leadoff hitter for the first place St. Louis Cardinals, but he can talk about it, how proud he is of just the man that Skip Schumacher is too.
Wonderful guy, and you know, quietly one of the leaders on this team. He was part of that 06 World Series team at that time, an outfielder, just trying to hold on and make a name for himself, and I know Jim Edmonds really talked highly of him to the coaching staff, and anytime he got a chance to play, he's always hustling, had a plus arm, very good defensively, but he showed what he could do last year, hitting around 300 for basically most of the season.
He finished up with a career high 302 average.
Right.
340 against right-handed pitching last year, second best, if I remember right, in the National League, but under 200 against lefties. But this year, playing every day, lefties and righties for the most part, he's seen so many more left-handed pitchers. He's better at it this year too.
Great at bat there. Mesh had him 0-2, and Schumacher fouled off a bunch of pitches, draws the 2-out walk. Very good at bat. So he's on base for the second time. If you're traveling and can't catch the Cardinals TV broadcast, catch all the action on your computer at MLB.tv. Catch over 100 live out-of-market games per week. For complete details, visit STLCardinals.com, where baseball is always on. Also, they have the Ultimate Fan Sweepstakes going on at STLCardinals.com. You can vote Cardinals either first or second, and do that 20 times, automatically registered for a chance to have a ticket, 2 tickets to every event during the All-Star game, and that includes the 80th All-Star game at Busch Stadium.
I noticed that was Trey Hillman, the manager that went out for that visit with Mesh. I haven't seen Bob McClure this whole series, so I wonder if he is absent for some reason. And I just found out that he is ill.
Speaking of that, how about Ryan Howard for the second time having to go into a hospital?
104 temperature, you know, flu-like conditions.
And how about that? He comes back and pinch hits a home run yesterday, and he's back in the hospital today and will not start and will not play.
Guys, you know, I mean, we talk about how we make this game so complicated, and sometimes when you're sick like that, you just go out there and just react.
And that'll snap his string of something like 350 or 360 consecutive games for Ryan Howard. I'm sure we'll see him at the All-Star game.
Darn. I guess Ripken was really
yeah, he was scared. He was scared.
He can breathe easier now, right?
I agree.
I don't think that mark is ever going to be achieved.
No. Strike 2 on Colby Rasmus.
And it probably shouldn't be.
How about the All-Star first baseman in the National League? Pujols, fielder. How do you keep Adrian Gonzalez out of it?
That's right.
Ryan Howard. You've got Todd Helton, Lance Berkman, even a guy like Nick Johnson. Pretty good first baseman. Same could be said over in the American League.
I kind of hope, though, that
quick move that time.
Yeah.
Schumacher is safe.
Butler didn't quite like the call from Joe West, and I'm sure Schumacher, this quick move got the attention. Wow. I think he was out there, but
put it this way, you probably wouldn't have had an argument.
You know, and why not try it again? But I'm sure Schumacher's a little more conscious of it and not going to lollygag getting back. Not that he did, but he knows he better go right back to that bag. I was going to say, I hope that the leading vote getter at the position, Albert Pujols, will get a little more playing time than just a couple innings there.
You would think. On a hop to second base. Hewlett stays with it and gets Rasmus. Another hard hit ball off of Colby's bat. Khalil Greene, speaking of hard hit balls, goes deep again, and this is his 5th home run and his 19th RBI. 3rd home run of the series. Did it in games 1 and 2, and again today in game 3. Second baseman Tug Hewlett. Timothy Craig Hewlett, but goes by Tug.
I played with his father in my final year.
Tim, right?
Yeah, I went back to the minor leagues to show you how smart I am. After 13 years in the big leagues and being a reliever, decided, oh, I'm going to invent a new pitch and I'm going to come back as a starter. And the problem was I was doing it at Mile High Stadium in Denver.
Good numbers there, huh?
Well, I mean, you know, the best thing about it is, Dan, I knew my career was over. But I did play with Tug's father, and what a nice young young man. He's now a high school coach at Shreveport.
And a line out to Tyler Greene. Saturday afternoons were made for baseball, and this week Fox brings you the national game of the week. Cubs White Sox. Fox Saturday baseball at 3. Here's Mitch Meyer. 30th overall pick back in 03. Had remarkable numbers out of Toledo in college. Very good college player.
Well, he got called up when Alex Gordon went on the disabled list, and he was hitting 370 at AAA. Got a big pinch hit double yesterday in the 8th inning. So they expect big things, and we already saw a nice catch from him out in center field.
Mentioned that Kansas City starts 7.5 games out, as Detroit leads the division by 3 games over Minnesota. We'll see them next weekend at Busch Stadium. Chicago is 5 games out. The Tigers have the 5th highest payroll, but their attendance is down by 26% this year. And you think about some of the guys that are making big money on that team, and one of them isn't even playing for him anymore.
Sheffield.
Gary Sheffield, over $13 million, and he's with the Mets. And that's a swing and a miss, and a strikeout number 3. You have Dontrell Willis, who is owed $18 million on the rest of that deal. And the real surprising one this year as far as players that are down, and we talked about it the other day, Maglio Ordonez, and Jim Leyland is going to bench him indefinitely.
He benched him the final game of the series against the Cardinals.
Here's where it gets interesting, though. He's represented by Scott Boras. He has an incentive in his contract to get to 215 plate appearances. If that is met, he gets $18 million next year.
Well, let me put it this way. Jim Leyland's going to win because they just gave him a 2-year contract
deal.
extension. Right. So that might be Jim Leyland's way of saying, I've seen enough of him. I don't want him on my team.
Cut him loose. If they're willing to do that to Sheffield and eat that salary, do it with Ordonez.
Yeah, knowing, Scott Boras is maybe, and I'm not speculating here because I don't really know, but he could threaten that you could file some type of grievance, saying that, you're purposely, for the reason of a contract, keeping my player out. It's not because of physical ability.
Exactly. I mean, this is a guy that had a pretty good year last year, too.
Well, he's been one of the better players, and that's why he got the contract. But his numbers are way down this year.
2 balls and a strike with 2 outs. They also have Nate Robertson. He's making about $7 million.
He's in the bullpen.
As a mop-up man in the bullpen. And he has another year left on his contract. Out to center field. Rasmus going back. He'll look up, and this one is out of here. Kansas City back on top. DeJesus with his 5th home run, and he's 2 for 2.
Told you he's a pretty good player.
With that home run hit by David DeJesus, another $18,000 has been raised to support prostate cancer research. To make a donation, you can call 800-798-CURE or go online to prostatecancerfoundation.org.
He didn't really see the home run binge yesterday. Albert hit 1 out, but after seeing 6 on Friday night.
And there's a fly ball into right.
And 2 already today. This ball is flying and usually better during the day.
Albert leads it off when we come back. It's 4-3 Royals. Ozzie Smith on Friday, June 26th, prior to the Cardinals Twins game, and Ozzie will be signing autographs in the Ford Plaza. So the Hall of Famer Ozzie Smith in the Ford Plaza, the Twins in town.
How about the production for Albert Pujols? It's off the charts when you talk about against Kansas City, but 75 hits, 63 RBIs, and a third of them are home runs.
Ooh, right on that pitch. And you look at his career, Al, the fewest games he has played in, 141. I mean, he has been as reliable as any major leaguer that's played in the time span that he's been in.
Been on the disabled list, but he's played through injury. But as you said, he's a gamer. He comes to play every day.
But thought this was the right move in game one. Pujols was limping a little bit on a double play ball in which he was running from first. Big lead. They took him out. And then today you've got him as the DH on a hot afternoon here in Kansas City. Long way to go for Meyer. The center fielder makes the catch.
Mesh has had pretty good success against him. You know, he did get the base hit and RBI first time up, but that was just a ball in the hole. That Rasmus's speed allowed them, they couldn't get the force play at second.
You could arguably make the case that next weekend we'll have the two best hitters in baseball, and some believe the two best players, Joe Mauer of Minnesota and Albert Pujols of the Cardinals.
You're absolutely right. And I mean, you're just going to that Minnesota team, you got to really compliment them. Going back to the days with Calvin Griffith, the great job of the scouting, because they signed players, and really good players, with virtually no money. I mean, they had some great scouts.
When Ron Gardenhire was the manager of the Twins, asked about Gil Mesh, he said, we would have loved to have signed him. We made inquiries into trying to get him, but $55 million was out of our range. Joe Mauer, by the way, hit .414 in May, and now in June he's at .443. He's well above that 400 mark.
Killebrew was their first $100,000 player.
That raised some eyebrows back then.
Oh, sure, but you know, I mean, there's a guy at, you know, it wasn't that long ago. It was just this home run binge that I think he ended as the 5th highest home run total, you know, at the time of his retirement.
On the outside corner, and a strikeout of Ludwig. First of the afternoon for Mesh. I met Harmon Killebrew at your golf tournament. What a nice man.
Very, very nice. You know, you talk about Killebrew and Brooks Robinson, you know, they don't cut much nicer, and Killebrew did. You know, it's almost a crime that a guy back then was to end his career outside of Minnesota, and it actually ended it right here in Kansas City. I believe that was '75.
It's a big promotional weekend at the ballpark too, as Duncan lifts it out to deep right center field. Meyer again will look up, and this one he won't get to. That's off the wall, and Duncan twice now has just missed a couple of home runs.
That one there really sounded crisp, but I think it had a lot of topspin. So instead of just keep on elevating out, it gets underneath a little bit, and you kind of get that topspin, so it sinks right off the base of the wall. Meyer does get it back in, but not before the double.
Friday night is Merrimack Caverns Day, and that's for kids ages 11 and under. You get a coupon for a cave tour and boat ride. And then Saturday, Six Flags Day, Cardinals Care Jerseys of Our Backs Day, and Christian Family Day. That's next Saturday. And Sunday is a family Sunday, and if you don't know what that is, you need to check it out at stlcardinals.com. You can purchase a regular price terrace or pavilion reserve ticket, and you get a hot dog and soda with that. So that's next Sunday.
You always Sunday they got the ice cream out there in the pavilion.
Yep.
Usually a run the bases day on top of it.
This Sunday, next Sunday I should say, a week from today, will not be one of those days because we're still in town. Usually it's a getaway day that they have the run the bases.
Has Luke done that yet?
I'm going to try to get him this year to do it.
You know, being a father, you should.
Yes, I should. You're right, Al. Thank you. Molina grounds out to second. Cardinals strand a runner. They've left 3 on. Cardinals baseball on Fox Sports Midwest is brought to you by Kia Motors. To learn more, visit kia.com. By Affleck, we've got you under our wing. And by the Casino Queen, home of the loosest slots. Billy Butler will lead it off. Double and a run scored back in the first. Kansas City leads it 4-3. Butler is a rookie in '07, hit .292. Always been noted for a very good bat. He can play first base and also DH. Right center field and a base hit. 6 hits already allowed by Adam Wainwright.
Rather .326 hitter coming in, and he's 2 for 2 here at home.
Fan Fest. Bring the entire family July 10th through the 14th at America Center. All attractions are included. The price of admission, 888-FAN-FEST or allstargame.com to find out more.
If you like the Cardinals winter warm-up, the Fan Fest is about 5 or 6 times bigger.
Trey Hillman has been selected to be at the All-Star game.
Yeah, isn't that interesting? So both these managers will be there, and I'm glad to see Tony. You know, it's usually a courtesy that you do it to the manager of the host team, city, but obviously Tony's deserves that opportunity, and you know, we've got to give Tony and his staff some credit to have this club in first place. They've employed 13 different rookies this year, and with all the injuries, the guys been on the disabled list. This is not the team that you would say is a first place club, and yet they play as a unit. They play team baseball, and Tony knows how to win.
Again, a lot of it though goes back to the fact that their starters have been good this year. That helps. Franklin's been great at the end of games.
And we need to get him on the All-Star team. Fans can't vote for them, but for the pitchers. But you know, his numbers and being the host city, and the biggest factor that can help out Cardinal players like that, you know, that are not selected by the fans, is the fact that the Cardinals are in first place.
And you look at Franklin again going beyond 1 inning for a save.
The 5th time, something like that, in his 17 saves.
He's a weapon in that regard. There's a swing and a miss and a strikeout of Jacobs. He has struck out twice, and that's 4 for Wainwright. So again, Trey Hillman has been selected to be part of the All-Star game, as well as Tony La Russa, 1 win away from 2,500. Connie Mack, John McGraw, Tony La Russa, the top 3. And nobody that began after 1920 has recorded that number, 2,500 wins.
You know, at one time you felt that Tony could get to 3rd place and would stay in 3rd place, but you know, now
I was thinking about that this morning.
Second place is in reach. You know, with three more years of managing, you know, he could get to 2nd place, and that was unheard of.
Here's a ground ball to short. Nice play. Greene out at 2nd, on to 1st, not in time, but a heck of a play there by Tyler Greene. And he gets a lead runner with it too.
He's been very spectacular in the field. Always noted that he could play defense, but a questionable bat. The former #1 draft pick out of Georgia Tech. But this year, and it started in spring training, that the Cardinals started seeing a little more life, and that he was coming around offensively, and he is not disappointed in his major league play this year.
Joe Madden and Trey Hillman, and you look at the Seattle manager, all have had very difficult roads getting to the major leagues, and a lot of that has to do with the lack of playing in the major leagues, but managing overseas and trying to make it through the minor leagues.
Did you have an opportunity to talk to Joe Madden a little bit last year?
Yes.
when he came through with the Tampa Bay?
I couldn't believe how much he knew of the Cardinals.
Yeah, I really enjoyed talking with him, and he is a huge Cardinal baseball fan.
I thought it was interesting too in seeing this. Tony La Russa with Trey Hillman, and Tony has told me on a number of occasions, because I've asked him, how many people call you for advice? And he says, you'd be surprised. He said, I don't actively seek a younger manager and give them advice, but if they call me up, I'm more than happy to sit down with them, talk with them, take them to lunch, you know, visit like that with Trey Hillman before the game. He says, I love talking baseball, so if people want to talk to me, they just have to reach out.
And you know that was on the left field side, so Trey Hillman went to seek out and talk to Tony, and Tony did the same thing when he was a young manager. You know, he got into the heads of some of the veteran guys. Some guys, you know, were receptive, other guys weren't, but he owes an awful lot to his managerial style, to what he learned from veteran guys like Gene Mock, Paul Richards,
Sparky
Anderson. You know, a lot of guys that went out there, and he, you know, chose to, you know, get into their heads. You know, it's not that you adopt everything, but you listen, you pull things from everyone's managerial philosophy, and you work it into your personality.
Here's a 1-2 pitch. And a check swing. Did he go? No.
And a replay would, I'm sure, would show that he did.
Darren Hendrickson is the head baseball coach at SLU, and he was on the most recent road trip with us throwing BP. And I said, what's it like for you when you're around Tony La Russa? And he said, I'm like anybody else. I manage the game along with Tony, and then he's been very gracious after games, you know, to visit with me and tell me why he does the things that he does and the, you know, the decisions that he makes during the game, but has helped him out immensely. He's done a very good job with that program at SLU. He took over a couple of years ago, and he had championship teams at Central Missouri State, and now back in St. Louis. 2-2 pitch. That's the strikeout there. 2 in the inning, 5 in the game. 4-3 after 3 innings. It's time to bring you up to speed with the AT&T Rapid Rewind. AT&T, the nation's fastest 3G network. AT&T, your world delivered. First pitch to Rick Ankiel was a strike, and that's a base hit into right. Underway here in the 4th inning as he pulled that pitch for a base hit, and it brings up the home run hitter Khalil Greene. Just joining us on this Father's Day. Happy Father's Day to everyone. And Khalil Greene with another home run. He's now hit home runs in 3 consecutive games, and something that we have noticed with him is a little toe tap that he's got going right now. Well, he'll take that front leg back towards his right leg and just explodes into the baseball. Maybe that's one of the reasons why we're looking at, you know, somewhat of an odd swing at times where it looks like he might be fooled, but it's his weight transfer and he's getting into the ball.
Oh man, now it looks like it's drilled in the knee.
And remember the other night he had a foul ball off his foot.
Maybe it's down below the knee, around the ankle. Like back knee, right? That's the one thing, you know, a lot of times you get that weight shift like that, you can't move.
Right.
Because you got one leg kind of in the air a little bit, or you're moving like that. And, you know, man's trying to get inside, and he did get inside.
And that's going to be it for Khalil. So you'd have, with this short bench, you could put Thurston at third or Brendan Ryan at short, move Tyler Greene over to third. Cardinals will have 2 runners on for Tyler Greene. Still nobody's popped out from the dugout just yet. And here's Joe Thurston, so he'll take over. Must be a special day for him. His first Father's Day.
That's
for
right.
Joe. Just over a week ago, brand new baby girl. Let's see how the Cardinals want to play this here. You've got Schumacher on deck, who's on base twice. Pretty good speed out there with Ankiel at second base and Thurston at first. You bunt here with Greene with nobody out. First baseman Butler is in. Tien is also in over at third base. He squares, and the first pitch is a ball, showing bunt. Last game of the last homestand, you could see Tyler Greene and Brendan Ryan well before the first pitch, about 3-4 hours before first pitch. All they did was work on bunting. Here's a 1-0 pitch. It pays off. This could be a base hit. And it is. Bases loaded, nobody out.
Well, that's what we talked about earlier, how when you have a situation like that, you want to bunt it hard enough to get it by the pitcher, make the third baseman come in, field the ball. And then with Tyler's good speed, Tian kind of backed up on the ball. He had to come forward when he saw that Mesh couldn't get it, and his throw was offline, but it should be a base hit.
So that's 2 bunts that they had misplayed. Remember, in the first inning, Colby Rasmus bunted back to Mesh. He tried to go to third base following a double by Schumacher, and everybody was safe. 4-3 Royals. That could change in a hurry now. It was Jose Oquendo and Joe Patini working with Tyler Greene and Brendan Ryan on bunting and also on their infield work as well.
Well, you know, there's no excuse for especially guys like Ryan and Tyler Greene not to be accomplished bunters.
Schumacher out to left field, and that gets down for a base hit. And the bases stay loaded. A run scores to tie it up at 4-4.
Schumacher again. You're a leadoff man. You don't get many RBIs opportunities, but that's number 20 for him. But it's your job to get on base. 3 at bats. He's on base for the 3rd time. 2 for 2 and a walk. And we're tied again.
Pujols on deck, and here is Colby Rasmus. You've got 2 of the hottest hitters in this lineup now, with the bases loaded, back to back here.
Colby, he was the one that bunted it the one time, and you know, came around to score on the fielder's choice, and he hit the ball extremely hard his last time up.
He has scored a run here today, average at 278. So bunt, fielder's choice, and grounded out to second. Bases loaded. First pitch to Colby. Strike on the outside corner.
Pitch him out there, and if he can go with the pitch, there's a big gap out in left center for him,
which he's been doing more of too.
He's just been hitting the ball hard, and when he hits the ball hard, you know, he's been getting his share of home runs, but they've been all extra base hits.
Did that the other night with a double to left center that scored a couple.
Got 16 doubles now.
And you were talking about it earlier, the job that Tony and his staff have done. Starting pitching has been good, but how about the rookies? Rasmus, Barden, Thurston, Stavanoa, Tyler Greene, and the RBIs from those rookies.
Yeah, lead the major league in RBIs, and of course Kobe leads all National League rookies in home runs in RBIs.
Ooh, pops it up. Infield fly, and the bases will be loaded here for Pujols in the biggest at bat of the game. Just steps from the arch in Busch Stadium. Enjoy unmatched hospitality in a prime location. Hyatt Regency St. Louis Riverfront. Check out the Hyatt Regency St. Louis Riverfront.
Well, Albert, even when a ball doesn't touch the ground, still requests the umpire to examine it, and he gives it. No, he took it out of play.
So here we go. This is what these fans have come to see. Albert Pujols, 8 grand slams in his career.
How about that? The .398 average.
And this season,
yeah.
3 for 3.
Just 2 of those grand slams.
There's a righty, by the way, getting loose for the Royals in their bullpen.
Yeah, but he's most thankful for let Mesh face Albert first.
First pitch to Pujols. Chopped foul. Nowhere to put him here. We have seen, and it's few and far between, where an opposing manager will walk an outstanding player like a Pujols. Bonds had it a couple of times in his career where they walked him with the bases loaded. They figured that'd be less damage than letting him swing the bat.
I'll tell you the story about a guy in Mexico, Hector Espino, who is the Babe Ruth of Mexico. And
0-1 pitch.
And Hector, even in his mid-40s, playing down in the Mexican League in the winter time. I was playing, and I saw a manager with a 2-run lead in the 9th inning, the bases loaded, walk Hector Espino, but his strategy foiled when the next guy hit a double.
1-1 the count here on Pujols. Bases loaded with one out here in the fourth. Saw on that Firestone leaderboard, Pujols in the top 10 of the toughest to strike out.
That's what's so amazing for a guy that hits for the average he does and the power that he possesses to be still at this day and age to be one of the toughest to strike out.
Albert Pujols now sitting on 24 home runs and leads the major leagues. RBI in the first is 63rd. That's in the top three. The 2-1. Oh. 2-2. What does Gil Mesh want to throw Albert Pujols here?
I might have had to keep that ball. An Albert Pujols foul ball. Might have kept that one.
That was close to us. Two to Albert.
Breaking ball and it stayed up. I mean, that's a pitch that fans, the Royals fans, wanted it called strike. But that's a pitch that if Albert swings at it, you might have been talking about that 9th grand slam. This is what it's all about now, right? 3-2 pitch, bases loaded to Albert.
Here it comes to Pujols. It's an out of play. Protects the plate.
It's ball 4. You can see him asking, but you know, good hitters, you know, with 2 strikes, they're going to still protect, and they'll swing at something close. But you see how far out of the strike zone he reaches. But you know, as a hitter, you're going up there with the mindset of saying, okay, this guy's going to throw a strike, and so you're geared. And yet Albert can reach that ball 6-8 inches outside.
Another 3-2 pitch. Pujols, number 9 as far as grand slams are concerned. Off the new Hall of Fame. My goodness. Another home run against the Kansas City Royals. Grand slam, number 25.
5 RBIs on the day for Albert. 25th home run, and now 67 RBIs and another big $18,000.
9th career grand slam for Albert Pujols. $18,000 raised again. Make a donation, 800-798-CURE. The crowd, their reaction, both home and the Redbird fans. They've got to treat this weekend.
Even the Kansas City fans enjoy it when Albert does it. You know, I mean, there's one part of them saying they don't want to see it happen to their team, but the other side of it is he's a St. Louis kid. A St. Louis kid that got away. Excuse me, Kansas City kid that got away.
Right.
Why are you looking at me so weird?
I know what you're saying, Al. Don't worry.
That's only because you worked for me for 10 years.
That's right.
You can see between the lines and words.
One ball and 2 strikes. So you see there that little area that sticks out just to the right of that, I believe, is where it hit. And a no doubter, there might be a little mark up there on the Hall of Fame as well. Wow.
I can see there it is, that white mark.
Thought that might have been where he hit it.
Well, or a big bird.
I'll go with the home run ball, Al.
It goes with your story a little better. But
goodness,
you were remarking about all the birds earlier before the game started.
That may explain it, Al. You're right.
But these are little sparrows.
The Cardinals have themselves an 8-4 lead. A check swing, and he did not go. Pujols, by the way, 5 RBIs on the day, 67 now on the season, and his 25th home run. And that's going to be it for Mesh.
Yeah.
My goodness.
They had a extended shutout streak going before this game, but the Cardinals did some damage with their 8 runs on 9 hits.
Where he hit that would have been where that little concourse was before. He would have made it all the way up the hill, I believe. That would have carried it.
I think it would have hit the Fellowship of Christian Athletes building.
Maybe so. That's across the highway. So that's it for Gil Mesh. With that grand slam and 5 RBIs today, Pujols now tied with Prince Fielder for the RBI lead in the National League. It's his 25th home run. He's 2 ahead of Adrian Gonzalez of San Diego. Robinson Tejada was just called up, and to make room for Tejada, they optioned Kyle Davies to Omaha, their AAA affiliate. New episode of Johnny Mac's Cardinals Insider premieres tonight on Fox Sports Midwest. John Mabry, our special guest. Joe Mathers shows us about life in the minors. Skip Schumacher's offers tips on how to be a great second baseman. It's Cardinals Insider tonight at 10:30 on Fox Sports Midwest.
I'm sure Joe Mather was really pleased to show you the life in the minor leagues.
You're going to find out all about it, Al. So here is Duncan. He has an RBI.
And what I mean by that is because in the back of his mind, he's saying, I wish I was in the big league.
Sure.
And boy, he just can't get that wrist healthy. Back on the disabled list again.
Brendan Ryan has been dealing with a sore wrist as well, along with that cramping issue that he's had. Albert Pujols is the designated hitter today, so Chris Duncan is at first base. Mentioned earlier how the DH for the Cardinals since '97 has been better average-wise than any other team in the big leagues and National League team. And Tony La Russa many times is not using a power hitter in that spot. I mean, you know, sometimes it's been that secondary leadoff man that he's used.
Well, you know, every National League club can find somebody to DH. And so you really go into the American League parks and you really feel like you're not at a disadvantage, where the American League clubs, they come into a National League city and now they have to have their pitcher hit. And you know, they've had some American Leagues over the last couple of years. They've had American League pitchers hurt themselves. Was it Cito Gaston that won't allow his pitchers to even swing the bat when they have to hit now in a National League city because doesn't want to get anybody hurt? And look at Wang, you know, from the Yankees. He got hurt last year, and he's horrible start this year. I mean, he was really a solid pitcher and a winner.
Great sinker baller.
And then got hurt, and then he just hasn't been the same this year.
3-2 and a base hit into right. Ludwig on his way to third base, first and third, and still only 1 out for the Cardinals.
Good day.
Send the 9th man to the plate now.
Yeah, good afternoon for Chris Duncan. His second base hit, and his first time up he had a sacrifice fly and RBI. So Chris, runner going, and just pulls one through the right side in a first and third situation with 1 out. And Molina, who's been a good RBI man, hits the ball on the ground. It's almost an automatic 2. But if he goes to right field like we see him frequently, and like he did in yesterday's game, you know, he could pick up a nice RBI.
1 out and runners at first and third. Molina late with that swing. He is grounded into a double play. He was in this spot in the first. 6-4-3, had runners at first and third, and grounded out to second to end the third with 2 runners on.
And the rare times he got a pitch away that he kind of pulled off of.
And with Mesh, maybe that's one of the reasons why, you know, you figured that they took that squeeze play out of play for Molina, because he goes to right so well. And Mesh was trying to throw outside. They knocked him out. 0-2 the count.
And I just kind of, you know, also kind of interjected the fact that the runner at third base was Albert. And I think anytime you can avoid a potential of a collision at the plate with Albert, you do so. But here's one of your better RBI guys, and so you have confidence that he can drive him in. That time he didn't.
0-2 pitch. Throws the bat at it and strikes out. So Tejada gets the second out and gets his first strikeout. And it brings in Rick Ankiel, second time that he has hit in the inning, and he started things off with a base hit. So Ankiel 1 for 2 with a run scored. 8-4 St. Louis. First pitch pulled foul. We're off to New York. The first of 4 at Citi Field in New York is tomorrow night. We'll have all 4 games for you on Fox Sports Midwest. And looking ahead to that final game, what a dandy that could be. Chris Carpenter, Johan Santana.
Yeah, awesome. Just kind of thinking later on this season, the Cardinals can look forward to the dog days of summer.
1 ball, 1 strike.
A little concerned about Khalil Greene. Hope that leg isn't barking.
Two and 1. I know folks last Sunday really enjoyed Pooches in the park.
There were some reports that some at the trolley party.
And a line drive base hit. This will make it 9-4. Duncan on his way to third. RBI base hit for Rick Ankiel. He has scored a run, now drives one in. And that's his 19th RBI, and it's 9-4 Cardinals.
Cardinals have had some fun in this series. Friday night they had the big offensive showing. Did that against Davies, and he gets knocked down to the minor leagues. Won't happen to Mesh, but there's what you're talking about. As with the waterfall or center field camera kind of gets a little moisture on the lens at times, doesn't it? And there they wipe it off.
So 3 1/3 for Mesh, gives up 9 hits, and that latest run is charged to him. The walk to Ludwig comes around to score. So because of our lens being a little wet out there, so we move to this shot. That's what we have for you. First and third. Thurston, his first plate appearance, he's in for Khalil Greene as he was hit by a pitch. 6 runs here in the 4th inning. And you're wondering if that high pitch count from the last start did catch up with Gil Mesh.
Yeah, that's what they were. There's a lot of concern. A career high 132 pitches he threw in his shutout, that they worried about his stamina today. But of course the Cardinal bats are going to say there was nothing wrong with Mesh. It was just how hot they are.
And that was against Arizona. And unfortunately for the Diamondbacks, Brandon Webb may need more shoulder surgery. And he may have thrown his final pitch for Arizona. He's got an option next year at $8.5 million. But if there's shoulder issues, that may be it for him.
Yeah, most clubs are right now, they're really questionable on the shoulder. So much it depends on the rehab, where same thing with an elbow, but it's almost guaranteed that if you put in the time that they can rehab the elbow so successfully that you'll come back. But just look at Troy Glass and the problems he's having recovering from his shoulder surgery, and his was a minor one.
Well, you feel for Webb, who's very, very good, obviously, and a class guy. I've had a chance to visit with him a couple of times. Here's a 3-1 pitch outside, so a walk to Thurston. And with 2 outs, the bases loaded again.
Tejada was down on a rehab with his rotator cuff tendonitis, and I guess right now you're kind of wondering if did they bring him back too soon.
And remember, it was Davies who was sent down. He was the starter on Friday. Went 2 2/3, 8 runs in that game. They've allowed 50 runs in the last 31 innings. And who do they have rehabbing right now? Sidney Ponson, who's 1-5 this year for Kansas City. So that's it for Tejada. Tell you about the pitching change when we come back. It's all Cardinals here in the top of the 6th, looking to add more with the bases loaded. It's 9-4. Hey, June 26th, make sure to bring the family to Busch Stadium, Merrimack Caverns night. All kids 11 and under receive a coupon good for 1 admission to Merrimack Caverns cave tour and boat ride. Always a cool 60 degrees inside the cave. A hot afternoon here in Kansas City, and the Cardinals have a 9-4 lead. Bases loaded, and the third pitcher used for Trey Hillman. It's Jamie Wright, the former Cardinal. We saw him throw on Friday night.
He pitched Thursday and Friday. Yesterday off and back out here to work.
12th man to come to the plate in this inning for the Cardinals. Greene, a bunt base hit as he loaded him up a few moments ago with that bunt hit, and came around to score in the grand slam by Albert.
How about Jamie Wright? You know, last year he pitched 75 games for the Rangers, most ever by a right-hander in the Texas-Washington franchise history. So that goes back to the Washington Senators.
2-0. You see that wristband that he's wearing on his right leg.
Hey, instead of wearing it on your wrist, you wear it on your ankle.
Two 2-0 the count. Big gap in the left center. 3-0. Mesh 3 1/3, 9 runs on 9 hits. Tejada recorded a strikeout, gave up a couple of hits and a walk.
All 3 of Tejada runners are out there. And Jamie's trying to pitch to save those runs for him, and about to give him up.
On 3-0, it's a strike. 3 balls and 1 strike. Run support for Adam Wainwright.
Mentioned most in the National League, and Cardinals have added to that total here today, and we're still halfway through the game.
Inside to Greene. 10-4 Cardinals. That's charged to Tejada, and it brings up Skip Schumacher for the 2nd time in this inning with the bases loaded. Well, we see it. Fernando Tatis, we're only 2 hitters away.
Why not? Be a little different because it would be off of different pitchers, but I think that we saw history that night in Los Angeles. Why not see a little repeat of it here in Kansas City?
Schumacher, first pitch, gets away. And Khalil will score. 11-4. It's 2 runs scored by Ricky and Khalil alone here in this inning.
Just very little weight shift. He just tried to scoop it backhanding, very tough with a catcher's glove, and Olivo, not able to block that ball with the runner in third, and it's one of those long days, isn't it?
Sure is, and it's turning into a long season quickly now for Kansas City.
You really feel bad for the Royals and Troy Hillman when you get the big crowd come out to see this club. You hope you get a solid effort from your team, and the Cardinal bats are having something to do with it. No errors in this game, some that have been charged, but some misplays.
Two and 1. Skip Schumacher started the ball game off with a double back in the first. Came around to score on a single by Pujols. He walked in the second. Here in this inning, came up with the bases loaded. Single to left for an RBI, and now he's got second and third, still in the fourth inning. 8 runs have scored just in this inning alone, and 11 total by St. Louis. The 2-1 pitch.
And now he can't get a borderline pitch called for him. I think it's Ron Mayhay. He is warming up quickly.
(3-1). Schumacher to second. Cardinals will strand 2. They've left 5 on in this game. They have 11 hits and they score 8 here in the fourth inning. Highlighted by Pujols' grand slam. 11-4 midway through 4.
It's always good to come back to town, you know, obviously where I grew up and play, and just spend time with friends and family. So it's always great. Looking forward every year, you know, to come down here and just, you know, and play in front of friends that don't get to go to St. Louis, and family that they don't get to go to St. Louis.
Into our booth and right to Al Raboski. Right in your lap. As Al gets the foul ball. Nicely done, Al. Albert Pujols, 13 career home runs against Kansas City, 11 in this ballpark in 27 games.
Knock off out of RF.
That ball landed literally right in your lap. Up the middle and a base hit. It spun off the sidewall. It stopped perfectly right in front of you. There's the run support the last 3 games.
You know, somebody's got to get those runs.
I'm sure he'd be happy to take them.
Yeah, you know, you take the offense out to dinner. You treat them, you know, with a little respect and everything, and they reward you.
And here is Tug Hewlett. 46 games for Omaha this year, the AAA affiliate. He hit over 300. Let's see if Wainwright can't get a double play here. As you mentioned, it's easy with a big lead like this for people to say, well, just go out and throw strikes, throw fastballs, but you still have to pitch. There's a long way to go. He's
got to hit 2 more innings to qualify for the victory. So you have to have that mindset that it's still, you're in a 1-run game. Or nothing. You just go out and attack the hitters. The biggest problem is you have such a long layover or layoff in between innings that it takes a while to regroup. You know, you really have to concentrate on those 8 warm-up tosses. And I know at times, you know, I'd go out and tell an umpire, you know, hey, let me have a couple more.
Out to right field, Ludwig coming on to make the catch. 1 out, and it brings in Meyer.
Adams made some good pitches today, but he's really left a lot of balls up out over the middle of the plate. And maybe getting back into that pattern of not using the fastball as much. Then when you reach back for it, it's not there. But a lot of his breaking balls, you know, he's had some really good ones, but he's had some lazy ones.
Not holding the runner at first, so Olivo takes second base. So no stolen base on the play.
But a smart play. You know, how are you going to get back into the game? You know, a ground ball in the infield, it was a double play they were looking at. So if they're going to give you the base, take it. We don't think
time, and strike 2.
I know. I'll ask you, but I mean, many times I see other clubs don't take advantage of that.
Drives me crazy.
You know, and when, you know, they say, well, I'm worried about a line drive double play. So what?
Yeah.
You know, you're already trailing by 7 runs. You have a better chance of getting back into the game by running.
Curveball, that's a good one, and a strikeout. Mitch Meyer, and that's strikeout number 6.
Big curveball, and Molina helps frame that pitch.
If you saw this, Al, that the Yankees benched Alex Rodriguez 2 games down in Florida. All his family and friends there, and this weekend he was benched as he has 1 road home run all year. And going back to last July, Alex Rodriguez is hitting .246. little concern about him right now.
I know his average is down also, right?
He's 13 for his last 74.
I guess that's down.
Yes, it is.
Well, what do you expect for nearly $30 million a year?
Here's a 1-0 pitch. Hit to short. Greene with it. Over to Duncan. Albert Pujols is due up second when we come back. 2, 3, and 4 in the lineup for St. Louis. Let's turn now to our Aflac trivia question. There's Greg Hawk, the outstanding trainer of the Cardinals, who hit career home run number 500 on Father's Day back in 04.
With his father in the stands in St. Louis.
Future Hall of Famer Ken Griffey Jr. Also on Father's Day, our Schnooks this date in history. 1964, Jim Bunning throws a perfect game against the Mets. First modern day pitcher to throw a no-hitter in both leagues. Our Schnooks this date in baseball history.
Senator Jim Bunning.
That's right. Here's Colby Rasmus. Think about some of the great father-son combinations that have played in the major leagues. Barry and Bobby Bonds. Hal McRae and his son Brian McRae. Hal was the manager when Brian was drafted and played center field for his dad.
We mentioned in the pregame show about the Cardinal coaches. You know, Chris and Hal and his son Brian, but Chris and Dave Duncan. But how about Cody and Dave McKay? And speaking of Dave McKay, he's going to have company next week in the Canadian Hall of Fame.
Larry Walker and Ernie Witt, former Blue Jay, going in.
I called Larry Walker yesterday to congratulate him after I talked to Dave McKay. As Dave was saying, how in the world could he get into the Canadian Hall of Fame with his numbers? and then he surmised and said, well, the only reason is because we're friends. So, but tongue-in-cheek was Dave McKay.
3-1 pitch. Grounded to short. And Rasmus out by a step. If that. And it brings in Albert Pujols. You'd have to say that Walker right now has the best numbers of any Canadian-born player, position player.
Oh, I mean, it'll take a while for somebody to pass him, too.
Morneau is Canadian. Russell Martin is Canadian. You have Jason Bay for the Red Sox, but still well behind Larry Walker.
Morneau is, another one of those great players we're going to see next weekend from the Twins. Can we call them Twinkies?
Call them what you want, Al.
Okay.
Pujols with a grand slam his last time up. Breaking ball, and that's a strike, 0-2.
Need Buckler there as he had Albert leaning back as that bender came across the strike zone.
Oh, 0-2 the count. Pujols with 5 RBIs on the day. Albert left center. Did he get another one? Meyer is back, and this ball is gone. He's done it again. Home run number 26 for Pujols, and he's done it again in this ballpark. 14 career home runs against Kansas City. 12 of those in 27 games here at Kauffman Stadium. Thanks to Albert, another $18,000 has been raised to support prostate cancer research. To make a donation, you can call 800-798-CURE or go to prostatecancerfoundation.org.
His 28th multi-home run game in his career and the 5th this year.
6 RBIs on the day, 3 hits, a grand slam, 2 home runs. He now has the National League lead in RBIs.
And Major League lead in home runs.
26 home runs, 68 RBIs.
Sometimes, a manager or a pitching coach goes, oh, my guy might be tipping pitches. Other times you just say, hey, look at the video and look where the location is. When the ball is thrown right here to a great hitter, he's going to get a good whack at it, and he's going to get those arms extended, and he's going to drive the ball. And you're just asking Albert to do what he does best.
Here is Duncan. Big day for Chris Duncan with a couple of base hits. Duncan today, RBI back in the first inning, his 31st. He has doubled, and he's also singled and scored last time up in the fourth. Cardinals lead it 12-4. A couple of weeks ago, we were wondering about this offense. Would it come alive? And it certainly has here now in the last week or so. It's certainly in this series.
Well, but it's once again, hitting is contagious. So instead of relying on one guy, guys are starting to swing the bat much better. Kind of takes the pressure off of everybody. And Hal McRae looks like a genius.
You're right.
The other day I asked assistant hitting coach Mike Aldretti. The Cardinals had a game similar to this. I said, who was the hitting coach today? He goes, oh, Hal McRae. I said, well, last week when we were struggling, he goes, yeah, that was me.
To his left tee and makes the play. Pujols back in Kansas City and another home run. 26 on the year. Well, 6 is a serious number. The Cardinals score 6. You get a 20-ounce coffee, fountain, or a frozen drink for just $1 the next day at On the Run at Mobile. Win or lose, Cardinals score 6. You score 25-cent drinks at On the Run.
Congratulations to Larry Walker. Just texted me and they said they were inducted yesterday. And it was amazing how he got there without the help of Dave McKay.
St. Mary's, Ontario is where the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame is at. And if you're familiar at all with Canada, it's about halfway between Toronto and Detroit. Nice little town.
On your way to Niagara Falls, right?
That's a fly ball into right. Dave McKay and I were talking about the best Canadian players, and Larry Walker's at the top of the list. And you'd have to say Ferguson Jenkins, obviously.
Yeah, but right now Justin Minot is going to have to go a ways to pass Larry Walker. Larry, by far, his numbers are just absolutely, a great career. And sorry I didn't see him in spring training. Where he comes out and helps out Cardinal hitters and Tony La Russa's staff early in the spring.
Larry, as a kid, wanted to be a hockey player. I think he chose the right sport because he was an unbelievable baseball player. And he was on that great team with Montreal back in 1994 that talent-wise was loaded. Pedro Martinez, Moises Alou.
You forget about what a gifted outfielder he was, and the throwing arm, but
his smarts.
Yeah, I mean, he would set up guys trying to get him to take the extra base, acting like a misplay a ball or something, but knew exactly what he was doing just so he could throw you out at second.
Larry, of course, won the MVP back in 1997. Hit 366 that year, 49 homers, 130 RBIs. Oh, by the way, also stole 33 bases. That was the thing when he got to St. Louis, and he'd be the first to tell you that physically he was starting to wear out at the end of his career. But yet, as you mentioned, setting up guys was one thing, but just his smarts and where to throw the baseball and how he stole bases too. He'd even do that a few times. Cardinal fans, when it comes to tickets, you deserve Major League service. Go online to StubHub. It's the official fan-to-fan ticket marketplace of the St. Louis Cardinals and the only site with Fan Protect guarantee.
Remember his first at bat. He will remember it, not for the strikeout, but the ovation he got before he got to the plate and the ovation he got for striking out. But he wore the Cardinal uniform proudly.
Ricky Ankiel makes the catch in a 1-2-3 inning for Wainwright. Molina leads it off when we come back.
I'm a busy on the road.
Baseball's biggest stars go head-to-head for one spectacular night, summer's biggest event, as Fox brings you every thrilling moment of the 2009 All-Star Game from St. Louis at 7 o'clock only on Fox. Happy Father's Day to everyone tuned in and watching Cardinals baseball here this afternoon. been given a treat by Albert Pujols here on Father's Day. 2 home runs and 6 RBIs. Now with 26 homers and 68 driven in. I'm talking about Larry Walker, his former team, the Colorado Rockies, have really played well. They've got themselves to back above 500. They're 9-1 in their last 10. They've won 14 of 15 actually. There's Ron Mayhay. The Cardinals had interest in him last year.
His ERA right at 5 and opponents batting a lofty 320 plus. That's not the lefty we saw last year that made the Cardinals have some interest in him. He did pitch back-to-back games Wednesday and Thursday after not going or appearing for a week before that. But isn't it amazing though, sometimes, you know, certain at bats, for whatever reason, you just kind of remember what you're doing at those times. And just for that same thing, I remember Larry's first at bat in St. Louis.
John Mozeliak said for him, and at that time being the assistant GM, it was the hardest trade that they'd ever pulled off. He said it was so complicated with contracts and how to make the numbers work and players. He said he worked through the night to get that deal done to bring Walker to St. Louis.
And that's the kind of shot in the arm that I think this club is looking for.
Mayhay tried to barehand it. Charity hop to the second baseman Hewlett.
Might have got his fingertips or something as he kind of looking at the hand. Usually if you get it, you know, in the palm of the hand, you're all right, but out on the fingertips, sometimes it causes little problems. And maybe, you know, sometimes you get that thumb in the way.
They have an off day tomorrow, so we are seeing their 4th pitch already.
Yes, he deflected it, slowed it up just a little bit, but he says he's okay.
Mesh, Tejada, Wright, and now Mayhay.
Don't you agree with me that this club, you know, I mean,
oh yeah,
and sometimes, you know, a club gets distracted and they use it as an excuse. I think Tony does a good job of keeping the team from taking that attitude, but you know, it just kind of, at one time the trading deadline was June 15th, and that was also a very important date for major league players because that guaranteed their salary for the full year.
It's a real important date then.
Now it's, you know, you start the season. If you open the season on the list, I think you get your full pay.
1 ball and 2 strikes.
Unless you have the split contract or something.
And Keel in the 4th inning alone with a couple of base hits and 2 runs scored and an RBI. This time a ground out to Billy Butler. And it brings in Joe Thurston. If there is a downside to today's game, Khalil Greene, after homering again back in the 2nd inning, was up in the 4th and was hit by a pitch and then lifted as he was hit on his right knee, it looked like, and taken out in this game. So Thurston is in, and he scored in the 4th and walked in the 4th as well. 2nd plate appearance. That pitch is taken for a ball. Chris Carpenter yesterday in the 3rd inning, a leadoff triple, the 26th of the season for the Royals. And then he was able to get a strikeout, 2 groundouts, and whenever he needs to make that big pitch this year, it just seems like he comes up with it, doesn't he?
Yeah, I mean, that's just guys that you know, they'll bend a little bit, but they won't break. And that's when you get a guy in scoring position, you know, then they get tougher.
This just popped up. 3rd baseman Tien is there. Midway through 6, all St. Louis. Welcome back to Kauffman Stadium in Kansas City, and a look at our Infinity Game recap. Khalil Greene goes deep. 3rd time in this series. Albert Pujols twice over the wall. The first time a grand slam. 6 RBIs on the day. That's his solo shot up at Jamie Wright on an 0-2 pitch. And run support plenty here for Adam Wainwright, and we were talking about Chris Carpenter. Carpenter now 5-1, and prior to yesterday's game, the Cardinals had scored 17 runs in his 7 starts, so he could be even better than that 5-1 record. In my mind, I think he's an all-star.
Well, I think you bring up a very good point when you're saying if the game means something. Well, you better have your best pitchers, whether they're having the best year or not. And because of being on the disabled list, he's a few, wins shy of the pack. But he's still got a chance to, to get close to double figures. And, you kind of lead the league in RBI or an ERA or something like that. That'll speak for itself. But if you want to have one of the best pitchers in the league, there's no doubt he is. So he should be on the All-Star team.
It's foul tip held on to by Molina. I mean, Derek Lee had a telling statement when he said he's the nastiest guy we faced all year when Chicago was in town. Here's a 3-2 pitch. And a long one out to left field. That will leave the ballpark. Not quite as far as Albert Pujols, but home run for Jose Guillen, his 8th of the season and his 2nd hit on the afternoon.
And we talked about earlier that and remarked that Wainwright had hit 95 today. But he only did that one time. And he only hit 94 one time. But consistently, he's been around 88, 89.
That's another home run. Plenty of home runs in this series. And here today, another $18,000 raised for prostate cancer research. Make a donation at 800-798-CURE or online at prostatecancerfoundation.org. That's been a nice initiative by Major League Baseball through the Players Association. They have raised millions of dollars doing this. Line out by Tien.
Activity starts in the Cardinal bullpen as Dennis Reyes is starting to throw. But there you see that ball down and in. I mean, a lot of times guys think, oh, that's a good pitch. But we were always taught that that is an easy pitch to hit out of the ballpark. You drop the bat head, you're hitting it to the shortest part of the field. And I know Bob Gibson and I have talked about this watching games, and he cringes when he will see a 3-0 or 3-1 catcher set up inside where you got to throw a strike, and it's only natural because you have to throw a strike. You're going to not bury it inside. You're going to leave it over the inner half of the plate and just easy to drop the bat head.
Now LaRue has to jog in from the dugout to the bullpen as they need another catcher. Our Bud Light What's on Tap. The difference is drinkability. And we will be in New York tomorrow at 5:30 on the air. Todd Wellemeyer and Tim Redding. The Mets, one of those teams that have gone through a ton of injuries this year. And David Wright is having a tremendous season average-wise, but he's on pace for 160 strikeouts. It's either a base hit or a strikeout for the Mets third baseman.
And he's not traditionally one of those type of guys.
Wellemeyer will make his 15th start of the season tomorrow. And we showed you that the Cardinals starters lead in wins in the National League. What's interesting is that Cal Loge was supposed to throw a bullpen today. I didn't see him if he did, but he very well could have. He told me Friday that he felt great health-wise. When he comes back, does Wellemeyer stay in, or does a guy like Thompson, has he made a case to stay in the rotation?
Well, I think Brad Thompson has. Now he's going to have to continue because it's going to be, at least 2 or 3 more turns around before Loesch is ready to return to the rotation. But I think he has, Wellemeyer is going to have to show you more. So competition brings out the best in people.
2-2 pitch and a strikeout. That's 7 today for Adam Wainwright. You mentioned how a trade would really jumpstart this team, and they're playing well right now. And it is early in the season, but you're getting closer and closer to that deadline. How do you think you would want to tweak this team? You looking for a bat? You looking for some type of protection around Pujols if you could get it?
Well, I'm looking for not only the bat, but I'm looking for another starter. And that John Mozeliak is doing the same. And I mean, he's out there looking for multiple trades, whether you're able to execute them or not. It takes a lot of searching before you can find the willing trade partner. and looking for it, in which I say I know he is. It doesn't mean it always you're able to pull it off, but the effort is always going to be there.
Teams still feel that they're into it too.
Right.
You know, with the wild card, that plays a factor in what you can do.
And right now, the asking price would probably be, you know, too high to pull off anything.
But a farm system is there to develop players, but it's also there to give those chips away if you're in contention.
That's right. And there's two courses of actions that, you know, sometimes
good pitch.
You over-evaluate your own minor league system, and you get in trouble doing that at times. And you know, Kansas City, when it was the Kansas City A's, a lot of people said that was the AAA franchise of the New York Yankees. They used to pull off some of the most lopsided deals that were just, they were just, you know, truly a farm system for the Yankees, as they just rated their major league talent and took them to the big leagues. You know, Piniella was one of those guys, but there was a zillion of them.
2-2 the count, 2 outs and nobody on. Next pitch to Hewlett. A swing and a miss. Back-to-back strikeouts, 8 this afternoon for Adam Wainwright. Sends us to the 7th. And the Cardinals lead it by 7 runs. Baseball on Fox Sports Midwest is brought to you by AT&T. Switch to the nation's fastest 3G network. AT&T, your world delivered. And by the double cheeseburger extra value meal. Now just $2.99 at McDonald's. Cardinals have themselves a 7-run lead. It's 12-5 here in Kansas City, and Tyler Greene leads it off. And we're underway here in the 7th inning. What if you're Tony, do you think about maybe pulling a Yadier Molina in this game, give him a little rest going into New York?
I definitely would. You know, I would not be as protective, you know, with my second catcher, you know, where normally if you do bring in LaRue in a game like this, they have Yadi go play first. So in case something happened. Of course, we don't have Stavanoa anymore to be your emergency type catcher, but I'd take that chance with LaRue. I know he's tough. Give Yadi a little bit of rest. You know, Yadi, you just have to marvel at his ability to bounce back day after day.
The Cardinals, if they hold on, they would be a game and a half in front of Milwaukee. They lost today 3-2 to Detroit.
And I'm sure Wainwright is through.
Jumps on the pitch out to left, but lines out. So Greene lines out to DeJesus for the first out.
If Adam Stay is through, you know, he continues that streak of giving you 6 innings for quite a while.
The Mets, by the way, will see them tomorrow night, first of 4. They're 2 games behind the Phillies in the National League East. The Mets start play just 2 games above 500.
Adams giving you at least 6 innings in each of his last 13 starts, including today.
So the Cardinals, the way that the matchups wind up for that series with the Mets, Wellemeyer and Tim Redding tomorrow. Joel Pinheiro and Livan Hernandez. Brad Thompson, Fernando Nieve. That's on Wednesday. And then the day game, great matchup. Carpenter and Johan Santana. Popped up on a broken bat on the infield. 2 outs, and it brings in Colby Rasmus.
Mayhey's done a pretty good job. We talk about how Schumacher moved from the outfield to second base, and what a transition. Mayhey moved from the outfield to the pitcher's mound at the big league level.
A lot of guys seem to do that, huh? You know, if you have an arm and you find out you can't hit, put him on the mound.
But a lot of times they do that in the minor leagues.
Sure.
But he actually did reach the major leagues as an outfielder before they made the conversion to turning him into a pitcher.
You got to be one heck of an athlete to do that. Colby Rasmus swinging a hot bat. Leads all National League rookies in home runs and RBIs. Had the 4-hit game on Friday night. First of his career. Albert Pujols. Fans here in Kansas City look like they'll see him at least one more time. He's on deck.
A semi-day off for Albert as he's the DH.
And a swing and a miss. Rasmus strikes out, and it's time to stretch here at Kauffman Stadium. All Cardinals on Father's Day. It's 12-5. Throughout our communities, unique individuals give back in many charitable ways. Julianne Nahar, Sarah Panzo, Melissa Landwer, our local finalists in People Magazine's All Stars Among Us. Through June 24th, you can vote for one by going to foxsports.com, clicking on the link for All Stars Among Us. And the winner from each Major League City will be honored before the All-Star Game on July 14th. Seen only on Fox. Bottom of the 7th rolls in, and a new pitcher for the Cardinals, Dennis Reyes. St. Louis is out hit Kansas City 12-8, and they lead at 12-5. Pujols, if you're just joining us, big day with a couple of home runs, 6 RBIs. 35th appearance for Dennis Reyes. ERA of 4.74, and opponents hitting .225 against him.
5th appearance leads the club. And a career high 75 appearances last season with Minnesota.
What have you thought of the lefties, Al, with Reyes and Mayhay, and in particular, don't look at their, excuse me, Reyes and Miller. Mayhay's pitching for Kansas City, but the two lefties for the Cardinals, and don't look at their overall numbers, but the one that really matters, can they get lefties out?
Yeah, I think they both have done a very good job at that, and you know, they've bounced back. They have the ability to pitch back-to-back games. Remember earlier one time Reyes pitched 4 consecutive games. He has held left-handers to an average under 200.
And the first pitch hits Mitch Meyer.
Well, it's still under 200. But he didn't retire him.
The Cardinals have a righty getting loose in the pen. That's Mott, I believe.
And Trevor Miller's actually kept lefties under a 140 average.
Yeah, speaking of Trevor the other day before the first game of the series, he said, you know, for the most part, who you're going to face. And he said, I love the way that Tony and Dunk have used me. He said they probably have used me better than anybody I've ever played for. Quite a compliment for Tony La Russa.
And in Trevor's case, he's with his 7th major league club, so he's had a lot of experience seeing other managers, and that is one of the things that Tony has recognized as one of the best at handling his relief corps.
That pitch is outside, 1-0. DeJesus, a leadoff man with a home run back in the 2nd. Singled and scored in the 1st, and also has grounded out to short.
Now here you got a left-handed batter, but Duncan is holding the runner on at first. Why not play behind him and still keep him close? I mean, the last time when they had, you know, Olivo, the catcher went and stole, but they were playing behind him and paying no attention to him. But you can still keep that guy and not have him steal, and still put yourself in a better position, particularly with a left-handed batter there.
But things have changed so much in the bullpen now, where you have the specialization guys, which certainly Reyes is, and Trevor Miller. They go into a series and they look at, say, okay, here's who's hitting from the left side. Here's who I'm probably going to face. And in Miller's case, being around as long as he has, and that gets away from Molina, doesn't know where it is. Meyer stays put.
Man,
He's got to be at third.
He should have gone to third. As Molina was extremely lazy in going after it. First of all, he didn't recognize it. He was kind of stabbed at the ball, but after he's looking all around, it's laying it. He just kind of trotted after it, and the runner could have gone on to third base.
And should have.
He should have.
Three and one. And the Cardinals, of course, have asked the fans to make a push for Yadier Molina to the All-Star game. You can vote up to 25 times through July 2nd at STLCardinals.com. That's a strike. We know Tony La Russa will be there. Pujols will be there. Not official yet, but you would figure that Albert Pujols, I think he's going to make the All-Star game, so we'll go ahead and pencil him in.
It's official.
He might have put the stamp on it on this ball game here today.
Oh, I think his fans have recognized him.
This will be a fly out, 2 left and 1 away. Let's go Chevy pitch by pitch. This will be Reyes, and Tony La Russa is going to make a change pitch by pitch on De Jesus.
And just kind of slider outside. Here comes back the same pitch off the plate. Then he overthrows one. It's in the dirt. And then missing up there upstairs, just all over the place. He gets a generous called strike there on the fastball. And then he gets him out on a little fly ball out to left field, and we'll make a pitching change here in our 12-5 game.
So Mott coming in. That's it for Dennis Reyes. Gets 1 out. And the Cardinals trying to hold on. They lead it 12-5 here in the bottom of the 7th. Here's Jason Mott, 32nd appearance. Record of 2-2. And time is called.
See that ERA now is up over 5 as Jason has allowed 4 home runs in his past 3 2/3 innings, having allowed none in his first 22+ innings.
Had a rough final game against Detroit. A couple of home runs in 1 inning, including that long home run by Marcus Timms off the top of the foul pole and left.
But the only way you learn, and the only way you learn how to compete, is to be out there on the mound. So opportunity here to get a few outs, throw that breaking ball a little bit.
One ball, 1 strike. This gorgeous ballpark, Kauffman Stadium. Little liner into center field. 2 outs. Love the fact that it's natural grass and enclosed now. The renovations that they're doing here, and we should also note the renovations that they're doing just across the parking lot over at Arrowhead Stadium too.
That's right. They have done a very nice job. This is always one of the more beautiful ballparks in the American League, and then now that they enclosed it, have the seating and a lot of interactive activities out in the outfield, it just enhances it for the fan experience.
First pitch is strike.
Hey, by the way, the Power and Light District downtown, I know a lot of the Cardinal fans have enjoyed that, and everybody here in Kansas City has seen that area really develop the last couple of years. Well, that's the same development company, the Cordish company, that's going to do Ballpark Village.
And there's a fly out to right. 12-5. Cardinals have the lead after 7. Albert Pujols is coming up. Albert Pujols set to dig in, possibly for the final time at Kauffman Stadium this year. Cardinals own a 12-5 lead. Pujols 6 RBIs today. No surprise here. He's our Hardy's prime cut of the game. Sweet swing.
Which cut? I'm picking the grand slam.
I agree. I think that was the grand slam. The truck tells us it was.
Grand slam, solo shot. 6 RBIs on the day. He leads the major leagues in home runs at 26. National League leader in RBIs at 68.
Third career game was 6 or more RBIs. Last time he did it, April against the Astros. Fans that have stuck around waiting to see if he can make it a 3 home run day. First pitch swung on and missed. Pujols with 26 home runs, 68 RBIs, leads in both categories in the major leagues.
Juan Cruz on to pitch.
The former Cub and Diamondback.
Cardinals had some interest in Juan Cruz.
Projections this season, 61 home runs, just under 160 in the RBIs. How about that? Pujols lines it into right center field. That will get down and go to the wall. Albert on his way to second base.
4-hit game, 4 for 5 for Albert.
And he is just a triple away from the cycle, and you wonder if you'll pinch run here and get a standing out.
I don't think you got the players to do it. I think Tony just looked out to him and asked us and said, is he okay?
You know, watching him run from first to second didn't seem all that comfortable.
And I mean, you've got.
You could use a pitcher though here, if need be.
Yeah.
He is your DH.
Juan Cruz, who Ludwig is facing, and Ludwig is 1 for 3 with a walk and a run scored. But Cruz has now suffered losses in his last 2 decisions, and his loss on May 30th was his first since June 9th of 07. That defeat snapped a string of 11 consecutive winning decisions, which at the time was the longest active streak in the major leagues.
Pinero's down there in the dugout stretching, running in place, pleading his case. Don't get hurt, Albert.
You know, that's that very important run out there, the 13-run pool.
For those that are in it.
See the number of for Juan Cruz. He did have a save this year against the Cardinals.
Swung on and missed. Now, you talked about that you'd like to see possibly a pitcher added. Let me ask you this. Would you take a flyer on Pedro Martinez?
No.
Some clubs recently went down to go see Pedro Martinez throw.
Good for them.
And your thinking is, what if it didn't cost you a lot, though?
You know,
if his price would come down.
It's over. His career's over.
Really?
Yeah.
You're that matter of fact about it.
And you've got that all written down, and you've got that on tape now, don't you?
I'm not. I won't hold you to it. You're allowed to change your mind.
Well, right now I would say no.
2-2. It does bring up an interesting discussion, though. If you're the Cardinals or one of these teams that needs pitching, the Mets a team too, would you be willing to take that flyer on him?
Yeah, and in my case, I say no, and one of the reasons why is, you know, if you can get him here, I mean, every game you're worried about getting into your bullpen too early. You know, can he give you 5 innings at best?
Ludwig pops it up behind home plate and out of play.
Now, he was an outstanding pitcher in his career, and you know, at one point it'd be hard to not take him, you know, and match him up against just about everybody. But I think those days are long past, and his injury history of injuries, you know, I would not be a believer in that he's going to come here and be a difference maker.
A 2-2 pitch. I certainly would be intrigued. I wouldn't be shutting the door on it like you are, but
Well, you spending other people's money a lot better than I do.
oh, let me finish out. Now, if the asking price came down and my lieutenants went and saw him and said, yeah, there's something left in the tank.
Well, that's a different story, but I'm saying that I don't think they're going to say that he's that you know, that much of a difference maker at this stage of his career.
Tom Glavine has not officially retired, but he will not.
And there's another one I say no.
Yeah, and he says, though, he's done this year. He will not pitch this year for anybody, but he will not come out and say that he's officially retired.
I think the one thing is when you try to make a trade, even now, in the back of your mind, you want to help immediately.
High fly ball into left center. To the track, and the catch is made. Pujols will tag up from second to third, even in a 12-5 game.
I say he's obsessed with scoring, but I mean, you try to make a trade to not only help you this year, you know, the ideal situation, but also to help you in the future. Now, sometimes you're just renting a player, and that can be a difference maker also.
I thought June was pretty good at spending other people's money.
I don't know how it
That's June
happens.
Rabowski.
I don't know how it happens in your family, but it's all her money.
Here is Duncan. The infield is drawn in. Chris Duncan with a couple of base hits, a run scored, and an RBI today.
My money is our money. Her money is her money.
Now, if you're Boston, they may have a surplus of pitching coming up now. They've got Beckett.
Smoltz is coming.
Right. Lester, Wakefield, John Smoltz.
Now who are they skipping?
Daisuke.
Daisuke.
Who do
You want his contract?
I'll pass on that one too. Here's the 0-2 pitch. Again, these are just scenarios that I'm bringing up, Al. I'm not necessarily saying I'm wanting Pedro Martinez. I'm just making conversation.
Dan, you've only brought him up about 100 times to me, so
Glavine.
you do want him.
Just not Pedro. Pedro was way back when.
Okay, that was this spring, right?
Yes. Duncan strikes out.
And then you want a Glavine, and I told you no. And now Glavine's even told you no.
I'm not saying I wanted to. I'm just bringing potential guys up. And here's Molina.
I'd take Glavine in his prime anytime. You want Maddox?
In his prime, sure. Maybe even as a coach.
I was talking about Mike.
No. I'm happy with Marty and with Dave.
Okay, now I'm talking about Greg.
Mike is now with Texas after all those years with the Milwaukee Brewers. 8th inning, 12-5 St. Louis. Mark it down. Let's see here. June 21st, Al said no to
Pedro Martinez.
Pedro. Okay, got it.
I know you've got that tape all handy. Just when he goes 4-0 in September. Yeah.
Down the stretch for the Cardinals when he's pitching well, maybe. This is turned into Busch Stadium West. The 2-0 pitch. And Molina shoots it into right. But the catch made. Cardinals strand a runner. That's Pujols at third following his double. 12-5. Cardinals baseball on Fox Sports Midwest is brought to you by Bud Light. With just the right taste, it never fills you up. The difference is drinkability. By Bank of America. Cardinals banking only at Bank of America. And by Hyundai. Discover why only Hyundai can say sales event. Visit your St. Louis area Hyundai dealers today. Our crowd here at Kauffman Stadium, 33,805.
New battery here as Kyle McClellan will take over and Jason LaRue behind the plate, and Molina moves to first base.
Yachty will hit one more time. So Kyle McClellan takes over. 29th appearance for the St. Louisan. There's Molina over at first base. 2/3 of an inning for Mott, and he got a pair of flyouts.
Kyle hasn't worked since last Wednesday, so he needs a little tune-up before we go into Gotham. Looking forward to seeing their new ballpark.
Apparently it is a pitcher's park.
That's another reason why I'm looking forward to seeing it.
Yankee Stadium, a hitter's park.
I'm looking forward to seeing that, but you know, not not looking forward to the joke that it is as being such a bandbox.
Spend that kind of money and it's a palace for the players, but unfair to the pitchers. 1-0 pitch. Fouled back. 1 ball, 1 strike. This is Mike Jacobs as we start play here in the bottom of the 8th. The Cardinals lead it 12-5. Cardinals got 2 in the first, 1 in the second, 8 in the fourth, highlighted by Albert Pujols' grand slam. Another in the 5th as he went deep again, a solo shot. And it's 12-5. Popped up on the infield. Greene makes the catch with the shades.
Sunglasses down and still really fighting the sun.
Always a fun trip to go to New York. Just talking with Adam Wainwright the other day about closing out the NLCS and World Series back in '06 as he froze Carlos Beltran with a 12-6 curveball to win it. And he was watching on MLB Network the other day, and he said, I can't believe that's me doing that. I'm playing along in my mind what happened in the game. I obviously know what's going to take place, and I'm still nervous watching that game.
This is Luis Hernandez hitting. .200 average, just 7 for 35. But .306 at home games.
Lines it out to left center, and a base hit. Drops in front of Colby Rasmus. This copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of the St. Louis Cardinals and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the St. Louis Cardinals. One out base hit, and here is Martin. Outfield is straight away for Tien. Struck out twice and also has an RBI single. Much of that '06 championship team has gone away. The improbable run by Tony La Russa. And Tony was saying the other day that it's in all the games that he's managed in, probably the greatest he's ever been a part of was the Game 7 against the Mets. That's saying a lot.
I was on the verge of winning his 2500 major league game.
And a double play.
Very good play by Schumacher.
How about that? Schumacher, Tyler Greene, Yadier Molina. That's the combination for the double play.
We go to the 9th here at the new Kauffman Stadium. Coming up immediately after the game, it is U.S. Cellular Cardinals Live. Jim Hayes along with Jack the Ripper, Jack Clark. They're going to talk about El Hombre exploding, Khalil crushes, and also Father's Day flashbacks. Happy Father's Day, everybody, including Dan and Al. We'll send it back up to you and look forward to Cardinals Live coming up after the game.
You as well, Pat. Thanks. And the Cardinals have a 12-5 lead here in the 9th inning. Rick Ankiel against the closer, Soria. Needs some work.
First time he's pitched against the Cardinals all season. When they were in St. Louis, Soria, their closer, was on the disabled list with a right rotator cuff strain. 7 for 8 in save opportunities. This guy had 42 saves last season for the Royals.
You see that Hall of Fame that Pujols hit the ball off of out in left field is remarkable. Once it will open up in mid-July. Paul Splittorff is in there. Brett Saberhagen, Cookie Rojas, Dan Quisenberry, Freddie Patek. The Cardinals, Hal McRae, 14 seasons in a Royals uniform.
Whitey should be in there.
What are your memories about coming back to Kansas City?
Well, just how much fun I had playing here. You know, Whitey Herzog was the manager, and he really played National League style baseball, you know, in the American League. You know, I knew about, you know, George Brett and Hal McRae, guys like that, but Darrell Porter, you know, especially in '79, just had a monster offensive season. And you know, Frank White, the great fielder he was. Al Collins had a super year in playing right field for us.
Chopped on the ground, backhanded. Soria at the bag.
And great personalities out in the bullpen. You know, playing for Whitey was a real treat.
Whitey had 3 straight teams that went to the playoffs, division titles, 3 consecutive years in the late '70s. 2 outs, and here's Tyler Greene.
year before I got here, his 77 team.
They won over 100 games.
And they lost to the Yankees. Is what happened is 3 straight years. But that was his best team in Kansas City, and that was a great ball club, better than the World Championship.
Bottom of the 9th rolls in. 12-5 Cardinals. Happy Father's Day here in Kauffman Stadium, Kansas City. Our Budweiser, great player of the game, the Great American Lager Budweiser. Wonder who that might be. Albert Pujols, 4 for 5, 2 home runs, 6 RBIs. Blake Hawksworth,
13th rookie used by the Cardinals this year, and the 7th to make their major league debut in '09. Blake was originally selected in the 28th round of the 2001 draft, and then he didn't sign until 2002. This year at Memphis, 5-4, ERA just under 4, 19 base on balls, 51 strikeouts in his starts. Made 10 starts for Memphis.
3 years ago, or rather, just trying to think now, but 15 years ago, it was Bo Jackson on his way to Kansas City.
I was going to say, wait a minute, there's a big difference between 3 and 15.
But Bo Jackson signed on this day, played with the Kansas City Royals, a grade 2 sports star. Popped up. Is there room? Yes, nice play by Thurston.
They told me that some of the guys that were on that ball club when the Heisman Trophy winner showed up, that they just said they marveled at his athleticism and things that he could do. Just run in one of the, I think it was the Milwaukee clubhouse. He said one day he just took off running inside, and that was a cramped little area, and ran right up the wall and did a backwards flip.
That's unbelievable. Remember the catch that he had?
Yeah.
Ran up on the wall. You think about what he did on Monday Night Football.
Yes.
He was just an amazing athlete. Bo Jackson.
And how good would he have been without having his hip problems?
Here's a 1-1 pitch. And that's strike 2.
I did a little signing over at the Power and Light Company yesterday for Jeff Montgomery, one of the former great Royals closers here, and I was sitting next to the Hall of Famer Lenny Dawson. Tremendous career that Hall of Fame quarterback had. What a nice gentleman he is. But that Power and Light District, I was saying that everybody that's visited it just marvels about that area. And the Cordish Company built that, and they're the ones that are going to build the ballpark village. And I know any Cardinal fan that's had an opportunity this weekend to go visit that will tell you that when they get that village built, everyone's going to be very, very pleased and happy.
And a catch made in right field by Ludwig. 2 down. It was back in the late 80s. Bo Jackson arrived on the scene. 1989, he was voted to the American League All-Star game, so it's been quite a few years since Bo Jackson played Major League Baseball.
Just a couple years ago, he was voted into the Missouri Sports Hall of Fame. A couple more years for you, huh? You'll be taking part in that.
Yeah. I don't think so, Al.
Oh, I know so, Dan.
Here is Mitch Meyer. I don't think so, Al.
I know so, Dan.
Here's a 1-1 pitch. Have you lost your mind?
Yes, I have.
One and 2. Cardinals a strike away from the sweep over Kansas City.
I lost my mind because you got me in trouble again. Not the checkbook.
That's fouled back. Hawksworth has gotten the first two here in the bottom of the ninth. Another chance for Ludwig. He is there and makes the catch. The Cardinals have a sweep of the Kansas City Royals. They hold on for the 12-5 win and a big afternoon for Albert Pujols. Bunch of home runs hit today, so with those 5, 90 grand raised for the home run challenge. To make a donation, you can call 800-798-CURE or go online to prostatecancerfoundation.org. Happy Father's Day to everyone. After this brief timeout, the new dad, Jim Hayes, in the postgame show coming up on Fox Sports Midwest.